Welcome into the episode of Patrick Jones Baseball. All right, this week on the podcast, we have Ryan Gipson. He is an assistant coach at Oregon State University. He works with their hitters, is in charge of their hitters, so he's their hitting coach, and he talks a lot about his own hitting philosophy, how he goes about working with hitters, what he's learned over the years from coaching, and then we also get into some recruiting, some questions that maybe he'll ask players on the recruiting trail, and some of the things he's looking for from answers, and then also some red flags too. So very valuable stuff from a hitting and a recruiting standpoint. Hope you enjoy this episode with Ryan Gipson. All right, we now welcome on the podcast Ryan Gipson. Ryan, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Patrick.
So I know we talked on the phone a little bit, and one of the reasons I thought you'd be a really good guest on the podcast is if you have a wide variety, I would say, of baseball experience playing and coaching at different levels of the game. I'm sure as a college baseball coach, especially at other levels of the game when you're coaching JUCO and mid major and things like that, you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. So you're doing a lot of things. You're doing infield and base running and hitting and all these different things. Strength coach even sometimes. But what's the one area, if you had to pick, that you enjoy doing more than anything else? Not that you necessarily don't enjoy the other stuff too, but if there's just one area you had to pick, whether it be infield, base running, hitting, whatever it is, what would that be?
If we had a two-sided coin and hitting an infield
Yeah.
or on each side, just go ahead right there. I currently coach the hitters,
Okay.
and I absolutely love it to death, but I love coaching infielders as well. The dance of a good infielder and getting to really help guys with their feet and do all that, that's what I love. But Coach Wong coaches our infielders here, and he's great as well, obviously.
So since you're working with the hitters, I mean, what I feel like that's a beast in and of itself being a hitting coach. What's your, I don't want to even say like hitting philosophy, but kind of how do you go about your business as a hitting coach working with hitters?
Yeah. In my mind, the best way to go about it is to speak a lot of different languages. I'm very guilty myself early on, starting and getting into coaching and being pretty rigid with my language and pretty rigid with, these are the absolutes, or this is where we have to be with this. And I think there's big value in having principles. But the ability to really understand how guys hear things is huge to me. You can tell one guy, to get forward or to whatever it may be, and they completely do something different than the next guy. And so I think the ability to learn how they think and how they really verbalize what they're feeling and what they're going through.
How do you go about doing that? Is that just something that it's just a conversation where you ask them, hey, how do you want me to deliver information to you? Do you want me to be somebody that, hey, the second I see something, I want to come tell you right away, or do you want it to be where it's, hey, I'm gonna give you a certain cue? Like, how do you go about that process?
Time.
Mm,
I think it has to happen authentically. I don't think and I'm sure there probably is, but I haven't came up with it where you could have a general set of questions to maybe decipher a little bit better. But I think just time with them, um, obviously in the cage, but then also just in a meeting space, one on one. So like time leads to the relationship and trust between the two, and that's when good things start to happen when you really understand what they're feeling and what they're doing.
would you say, since you have a lot of coaching experience, you've been doing this for a while now, would you say the hitters that are coming into college now are more mechanically focused, or maybe like they resonate more when you talk about mechanics versus maybe when you started?
Yeah, I think overall just the evolution because of the amount of information everybody has at their fingertips at all times. Coach Casey coached us. When we played here, he coached us as hitters, and it was so much about the mentality and the mindset, and then just the me versus you, the that aspect or that component of hitting that I know that's what because I didn't have a lick of talent and I did have the brain, I felt like to be successful enough, and I've had to evolve a little bit with that. And I don't think that they're so solely mechanics focused, but there's definitely a bigger emphasis this day and age.
Mm. And then do you try to get them to kind of merge with that philosophy that you had with Coach Casey, where it is more that one-on-one mentality, competing mindset?
There's no doubt. The ability to be, we talk about having a one for one focus. So if I can be 100% or whatever, go one for one each pitch. And that's sticking to, their individual process in the box, sticking to, what they're looking for in that situation, kind of what their approach tells them to do, being external as we can. And to me, when we're in that type of frame of mind in between the lines, the compete, the self-motivation stuff, that every guy's a little bit different. Some have to be a little bit sleepy and careless, and then some have to be absolutely, you know, on edge the whole entire day of the game. Wade Meckler, there was no way that guy was ever gonna not be wanting to really, really get after somebody, and that's why he, made it to the big leagues so fast after being drafted. But yeah,
I like that. So one for one each pitch. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that? I assume that that kind of means you're going up there, you have a plan, and then for each pitch, like your sole focus is that plan. And if you have conviction for that pitch with that plan, then you got one for one.
sure. We want our guys to be good self-evaluators, and so no matter what, a sheet that I always make, and I have it here laminated. I'm not going to share. There might be, things that the guys don't want, whatever. But a singular, their identity, who they are, and then their process. They get to share that. They get to look at that with each other. They know, that everybody knows kind of who they are as their identity as a hitter, and then what their process is. And to us, our process is those 2 to 3 thoughts that are going through your head when you're playing the best game of your life, when you're unconscious. And a lot of the times it's thought free, but there are those things that get us to that thought free type of flow, type of state. And so that's our, kind of basic breakdown of what we want them to be in the box. But the one for one, it honestly kind of developed a little bit last spring, and we're just taking BP. We're taking BP. I might be doing a double machine. I was doing a double machine or something, and I'm back. I was back behind the turtle, had a manager feeding, and it hit me really quick. We had a couple of guys that would, let's say, roll over the first 2 swings of their round, and that's the only thing on their head.
Mm.
They're thinking about that and how they're like, all right, I got 3 more swings in this round. Now I got to go 3 for 5, or I got to hit the middle of the baseball. I got to put the barrel on it to make it 3 out of 5, opposed to, nah, just go one for one this next swing with your focus. And then we've just kind of snowballed that, just from BP into going one for one with our own individual process and our focus and where we're at mentally, because like, the mental game is the game. So yeah.
Yeah. Love that. No, thanks for sharing that. From an identity standpoint, I know I don't want you to give obviously any player names, but like what would be an example of an identity that maybe somebody would have
Um,
on that? You
Always,
said you have them write down the sheet. Like what would be kind of like what's an example of that?
yeah. Table setter, offense mover, runner. This is one guy's and I let them give it to me amongst their peers. They're in there. We're in a hitters meeting, and then so they're vocalizing it, to in front amongst themselves, or in front of, their brothers, their teammates, and to me. And then if maybe I feel like maybe there's a little one off, then I can give them a little dialogue on why I think maybe we can gear it towards this way. And then everybody hears it. And I think it's a good setting to be able to do that. Um, High on base, low chase, middle focus, um, doubles, producer, middle to right center gap. So it's pretty basic stuff, but individualized for that guy.
No, I love that. I love how it's simple too. That's another big piece. And I know for you as a player, I believe I saw you led the league in on base percentage. Did you have anything like this for yourself as a player?
No, I was just delusional. I thought I was the best player on the planet, and I wasn't at all. I it shocked me, honestly. I mean, I could probably count a lot of times of Coach Casey having me take till 2 strikes in at bats, and him knowing because, again, I didn't care if I had 2 strikes. I didn't To me, that kind of freed things up. I didn't have to look for a pitch. I didn't have to look in a zone. I was at that point, I was free, you know? I had freedom with 2 strikes. I'm still getting a good swing off on a pitch that's, over the plate. I hit 9 hole that year, 2005. Jacoby Ellsbury was the leadoff guy, so I hit in technically in front of the best player in the country really that year, and it didn't make a lot of sense that they wouldn't just come and attack me in zone. And, I guess when they did, I put a good enough swing on it. And I really didn't have any fear. And I thought I was way better than I really was. And so that would be probably at the heart of why, I had some success. But yeah.
So a couple things there. One, the freedom with 2 strikes, don't hear that often. And then the second follow-up question to that is why did you think you were so much better than you were? Because I'm sure as a coach, you want all your hitters when they're in the box to think that too. So was there anything specific that maybe you growing up or anything that you think translated to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've especially grown up always overly, potentially like obsessed with being competitive and in, everything, not obviously not just baseball, literally anything and everything through life. I always wanted to win. My parents allowed me to do hard things. I was challenged. There's just a lot of things that I feel like led led me into to wanting to win at everything that I do. I had a brother that's just under 2 years, or I still have a brother that's just under 2 years younger than me. He he wrestled at the University of Oregon while I was playing baseball here. So he was an athlete too, so split household, the whole Ducks Beavers thing. We had a cousin not far off from us. He was just, a little bit younger than my brother, and if there wasn't a pickup touch or tackle football game going on in my front yard, there was definitely a game of strikeout or home run derby or you name it. It was just nonstop. Or we're on the, hoop on the cement and not caring and playing extremely hard, walking away bloody most of the time. But yeah,
Did you ever get into wrestling? And did your brother ever get into baseball?
my brother played baseball, you know, whatever, little league on or t-ball on up until high school. I was always asked to wrestle, but I played basketball. But then my 8th grade year, I said I would, and I did both. I wrestled and played basketball that year. I love the literally stepping in and just like, it's a me versus you situation. Had some success with it as well, but I knew I was going to play. I preferred basketball in high school, and so I did that.
Mm, okay. Did you ever want to do that in college too?
No, I was nowhere near good enough.
So when you were in high school, obviously, really good player, ended up obviously going to Oregon State. What was your, I mean, were you one of the top players from a young age? Was it something you developed late? Like kind of what was your skill level like throughout high school in terms of just notoriety and all that type of thing?
No, I was a very average player. And I'm not like not knocking. I have first team all conference stuff and whatever. Won a state championship, and we had success in my high school. But I was a very very average player, and I went to junior college. And actually, I redshirted at a JUCO, and then played my 2 years. So I was 3 years at a JUCO before getting the opportunity to come here to Oregon State. So I know in my brain, I didn't at the time. I thought I was the best on the planet, and but I had a lot of developing to do to be able to play here, that's for sure.
So what do you feel like the things that, let's say by the time you leave that junior college after 3 years, was it a combination of just, was it more physical? 'Cause it sounds like from a mentality standpoint, you always had the belief, so it wasn't as much that. Was there certain things just from a skill standpoint that you lacked before then?
Yeah, I think size and strength, hands down number one, and reps. This was before California JUCO changed the rules, and so we were able to play like over 40 games in the fall and then play a full spring season as well. And I think now California JUCO can only play like 10, outside competition scrimmages or 10 days or whatever. And so we played a lot. And that with grew a tiny bit, and then, probably ended up 25, 30 pounds heavier than after I graduated high school. And that made a huge, huge difference.
So you're playing. I mean, if you're playing 40 games in the fall and then the spring 50, I mean, plus the summer. I mean, you could have been playing 130 games a year.
I couldn't tell you exactly how long our spring season, we made playoff both years at Shasta, the years I played.
Yeah.
40 plus, and then, yeah, probably
Wow.
easy. 120. Yeah.
What are your thoughts now on collegiate baseball or summer collegiate baseball anyway? Like, is that something that you try to emphasize to players now, or is that not as much now because of the risk of maybe transfer portal or something like that?
No, we're massive proponents of it, but we're advocates of it, but it has to line up. It has to make sense. Again, I mentioned our strength coach before we started. Mike is so good at what he does. And my conversations and Joey and Dor and Mitch's conversation with him and us looking at it together, sometimes it just makes a lot more sense for a kid to stick around over the summer and really get after it in the weight room. And then, but if body's physical enough, body's healthy enough, we want them to go play, because again, that's how you really, really make strides in this game, is by playing it. And then there's always the situations where guys don't have the amount of reps that they needed throughout the spring, and we will send those guys out.
Parents, are you tired of spending money going from showcase to camp, not even knowing if a coach is even looking for your son's position or even knows his name? One of the reasons that I started my college baseball recruiting service is to help guide families throughout the recruiting process, so you're not having to waste money and time going from showcase or camp to camp. If you're interested in hearing more about how I can help your son, head to patrickjonesbaseball.com and fill out the form. That's patrickjonesbaseball.com. Fill out the form right on the homepage, and I'll be in touch. All right, back to the podcast. I think my next thing I kind of wanted to ask you about was from a purely coaching standpoint, where if you look back on your coaching career and just how, again, you mentioned a little bit to this earlier about communicating using their own language. What are some of the things looking back that maybe you've changed how you've done since you started coaching, or that you've learned along the way, or advice that maybe you could give your former self too as a younger coach?
Um, again, part of I think it's a strength, but it also gets in the way at times. Part of my makeup is being a doer and potentially being very stubborn at times. And so, um, the ability to really seek out help and delegate is something that I've done a lot better job with over the last kind of couple years, where before it's I'm stubborn, I want to get it done, and this I'm going to just do it. We're going to go 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 go. That just only lasts so long, and it doesn't really truly help enough people. I'm not helping also, the people around me that want to be a part of it and can really help influence our guys and even me, and help me get better.
When you say delegate, do you mean like, hey, maybe this hitter could use some extra reps from this other coach, or like what do you mean when you say that?
So there's times where I've wanted our guys to have a machine fed this one way, so they all have this exact, very similar timing, a very similar, and I'll get in the mode of like, well, I'm just going to do it because I know I can, and I'm still eyeballing, and then I'm trying to do two things at once. Where rather, I could be near or closer to our hitter and having much more valuable conversations if I just teach and help there. And then, like you said, I still will have majority of our guys, if there's something that Coach Dorman, the way that he pitched them. Now that we're through, since we had 5 weeks this season prior to opening day, with the NCAA allowing 2 more weeks, we've played each other a lot. And so I've had all of our guys that have maybe struggled a little bit, let's say their last 10 at bats, go talk to Dor. What did
Mm.
Dor see? What did he do to set you up? What did he do to know that he was going to potentially get chased off the plate? What did he do to know that, he knew he could come in like whatever it was? And so I really like Coach Wong. Obviously, Mitch is great at putting his hands on guys and making sure that they understand how the body moves and helping with the hitting. This isn't like a solo, this just me. We all have our fingerprints on our guys, but we do a good job of just like kind of staying and making sure we're all communicating together so we know we're all on the same page.
Who did you learn the most from when it comes to working with hitters? Was it trial and error? Was it a specific mentor? Was it hopefully it wasn't on Twitter totally, but, was it a combination of things?
Trial and error plays a big part of it, but Shannon Hunt, my hitting coach at Shasta College, he helped me a ton. Coach Casey helped me a ton. Jeff McKay, who long time scout, was a national cross checker, and then Jeff started a company up here called Baseball Northwest, and I worked alongside Jeff for a handful of years doing these evaluation camps, then selected the guys that play in the Northwest Championship. One of the bigger recruiting events, still going on here every summer. Jeff, in terms of really how guys move and the body, really opened my eyes to some things. And so I seek out guys that maybe not necessarily view things differently, but that I feel like I can learn from. Caesar Nicholas, currently, who he's an agent right now, but any coach in the Mariners org, Caesar and I have a lot of dialogue about different things. I like to be curious. So there's a handful of people that help me along the way.
That's all good stuff, really good stuff. Who do you like watching or do you watch a lot of professional baseball? And if so, like, is there certain big league hitters or players that you like to follow or maybe you bring up to your own guys, examples?
Yeah, I do the best I can with comps. Um, Mitch and I especially, we'll talk about it. Who could one of our freshmen, Cam Beck. All right, who could we find? Who's a good comp for Cam Beck? Big, strong kid, not like a loose mover by any means. Who can we kind of find that potentially, it makes sense to find his comp? Mitch is great with PowerPoint. We'll go and he'll snap still shots, make like a 6 point setup, gather, kind of mid forward, like forward move almost, toe touch, contact, and like then do that with our guys and look at some differences and some similarities. So I like watching all big league hitters. There's a reason there are, and there's a ton of similarities that majority of them do. There's the bell curve. There's ones that are the outliers, but majority of the best have some big time similarities and posture over the plate and not having a huge forward move. And so that's one thing that I think is the biggest development jump from guys in high school coming into a high level college program, learning how to make that. We want guys to have professional ready swings. We want them to be ready for the next level, because if they're ready for the next level, it's really going to play here. And, in high school, you can get away with a lot more. So, yeah.
So you said did you were you referring to specifically the forward move as one of the challenges for high school players and making that transition when they go to college? Or you just mean
I
as
think
a
so.
whole?
Yeah. I think they like to really gather up they like to use a ton of momentum in their swing when really the momentum is more so, to me, it's like you store your energy, and we want to work behind the baseball as best we can. We want our eyes to not move so much. And you see it in younger players, and then obviously in high school players, and even some of the best. They want this collision, this momentum and collision. And sure, when it syncs up, it's how you hit the ball the hardest. but you're syncing up to a much smaller window. We like bigger windows.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. And it's kind of the same thing. It's more that showcase model. I was out at the a showcase, that Super 60 event in Illinois last week, and I mean it's cool to see some guys throw 100 miles an hour from the outfield and things like that. But when you watch them, I mean they're taking two shuffles to get rid of the ball to get as much from. It's like a guy throwing 87 from the outfield with really good form and getting rid of it quick gets the ball there at the same time at that point.
Faster.
Definitely, definitely.
The one that kills me is the showcase, the shortstop.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
have to hold a gun behind the screen at first base. It's the last thing I personally care about. I want to see how their feet work. I want to see how they get it out of their glove. I want to see if they have a little bit of carry on the ball. If you want to really like get a metric and a number to it, then you all put them in the same exact position, do a short hop, and they all have to go backhand, two-step footwork and really like pull down. And then we can maybe use that number a little bit. But them field a ground ball and same thing, not 4-step foot pattern, like 6-step foot pattern and throw as hard as you can. That does nothing.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So when you're evaluating, is there anything, any metric that's maybe position player specific or hitting specific? Let's just talk hitting since you're obviously the hitting coach, is hitting specific. Is there any metric? I mean, would home the first time be really the only one that you care about getting on a position player?
Well, no, I mean, if we're out recruiting,
Yeah.
we're not going to have, TrackMan up.
Mhm.
Sure, at PPR Futures, TrackMan is running on the scoreboard, so you can see some kids, you can see exit velos and things like that. Um, run times are huge, and then if we have access, EV's that's a gold mine if you have access to TrackMan data to know how hard guys hit balls and then at what angle that they hit the ball hard. But that's you roll up to your tournament down wherever, Arizona, you name it, you're not getting data at the time of or after or anything.
How many times will you watch a hitter before you're in on them or out?
Out would most likely be more times, but I've seen a guy one time and known that again, nothing to do with like the swing or the player, but other things that I've been out on him. And then watching a guy to be in, it can be few as one game, especially if there's been some, not dialogues, you can't have dialogue anymore, but reasons for us to go see somebody and then getting to see him walk around and move around and, watch him get ready for the game. I I like to watch infielders take ground balls in between innings. I like to watch hitters walk from the on deck circle to the batter's box. I like to watch them play catch pregame. The things revolving like around the game and within the game get me the most kind of locked in and excited on guys rather than just that single at bat or, the glove side ground ball he fielded in the game, or it may be.
Oh, that's really good stuff. So when you say walking up to home plate, on deck to home plate, are you just looking body language? Are you looking, hey, does this guy, there's some doubt there? Like, what do you like to see?
Body language is loud. Presence is loud. Anybody in the stadium, I think that's not a unique thing to see or notice. I think everybody notices if you're in a stadium full of fans, when somebody walks up to the plate with that real presence, like authentic belief in themselves, it's kind of slaps you across the face. And so when we see that, we're doing our best to get those type of guys.
I like that. And then in between innings, I assume you're looking at, do they one take the reps seriously, and then two just footwork, arm action, things like that.
Yeah, I think you can, because not every infielder is going to get a ground ball in a game, and I think you can get a lot of information in how they just first approach it. Do they have a process to it? Some guys will, early innings, take one from the grass, move back right away. Do they? And again, part of like why I love to coach infielders. Do they potentially? Most first basemen roll it right at you. You can ask them to roll it wherever, but if they roll it right at you, are you setting up your feet and timing the baseball with your feet to maybe work a a backhand rake, to work a backhand, back closed, emulate just different things to where you can really see that a guy really understands the position and has a passion for playing on the dirt. I think you can learn a lot in between innings.
Do bat flips, does showing doing stuff like that, does that turn you off? Is that just something that people say and it doesn't have as big of effect on recruiting? Like, you hear so many different sides of it as, "Oh, they're just having fun," whatever it is. What are your thoughts on that if you go and you watch a kid and he's doing stuff like that?
Bat flip probably depends on the emotions of the game. If the emotions are running high, the thing that does turn me off is when they throw it like, 20 feet in the air. Like don't make it that much about you, but I have no problem with getting fired up for your guys as long as you're not making it all about you and trying to draw attention to the you, but you're fired up because you did something for your boys and it's an emotional, high intense game. Well, that's kind of part of it a little bit. Just like I get fired up right now. Again, we've had these 5 weeks. Our pitchers and hitters have been absolutely going toe to toe. And so when our pitcher gets a little bit excited, a little bit emphatic after you know, gets a guy to pop up weekly, gets a punch out, whatever it is, in the moment, I want to say, hey, listen here. But that's like, you know what? Yeah, it's his competitive juices. And so I think it's fine. It's just don't make it about your boys, not about yourself.
You talked a little bit earlier about kind of how important, obviously, and I think we all know this, the mental side is, and really that really does determine a lot on whether or not a player is going to be successful for you at Oregon State. So how do you go about evaluating the makeup piece?
That comes with really, really comes with when conversations are, allowed to happen, when we're able to start talking to them. Getting to know them, mom and dad, helps a lot. The programs they play for, whether that's high school or club ball, tells a lot. We know typically if we have a kid that's in the BPA program in California, Jared's team, those kids can be pretty tough. They've been coached hard. They're gonna have some fortitude and know how to, go about it, go about it the right way. And then obviously other high schools here in the Northwest and other high school coaches and those all play into the equation. But it's just something you have to lean upon the conversations and trust the conversations that you're having with the guys. We have a handful of questions that we've used at times that we feel like if we really need to maybe kind of figure it out with the kid because we're a little uncertain, and we've had kids answer it 100% the right way and we offered them scholarship. We've also had kids answer it the wrong way and it's like, well, it never happened. They went elsewhere.
You don't obviously, I don't want you to give those exact questions because then players would just automatically give maybe the answer you're looking for. But what are some things that when you hear on the phone from a college coach's standpoint, it doesn't, you may not necessarily be out immediately on them, but it's not what you want to hear, I guess.
We get concerned when maybe somebody doesn't have any other hobbies or interest whatsoever, as crazy as that sounds. Especially
Really?
here, we have you know, the setting here with the outdoors and everything else that our guys have access to. Um, it's just that's important to have other releases and other things to do. And then probably the number one thing is um, that mom or dad speak for the athlete. Even, sure, the kid's pretty quiet and there's different scenarios where we've recruited plenty of kids that aren't the most vocal or they're a little bit more reserved. But when mom and or dad kind of do all the talking for young Johnny or whatever, that's kind of not, it's off putting.
The hobbies piece is interesting to me. What made you kind of think of that or put two and two together? Like, was it a situation where you have guys who come there and they all they cared about was baseball, and then it got in their head because that was their identity? Like, how did you come up with that?
Yeah, you're right on with that. Where it's just our guys are here. They're here to get an education and go to Oregon State University and go to Corvallis, but they're really very very driven by the game of baseball, and they are driven to be really great at the game of baseball. But when there's no other release, that's a recipe. That's a recipe for somebody to really get, inside their own brain a little bit too much. And so, like you said, that's part of it. And then we always bring it up or ask it because we've had some wild, answers that maybe like you're just like, I don't know if this one's is, I really the only other thing I do is I just play chess only and that's it. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with chess, but like nothing else like outside or anything else to kind of get you, competing and doing something else, with others or whatever. Yeah. But it's just, it's proven valuable for us.
No, I 100% agree. Growing up, I know you mentioned playing outside and you were doing some other sports too. Were there any other hobbies for you that were non-sport related?
Hunting, fishing, rafting. Very, very lucky to have a cabin growing up that was up at almost a mile high, 5,100 feet elevation. So, snow, in the winters and a ton of fun in the lake in the summers. And so just anything. Obviously it was mostly sports. And I guess I said hunting and fishing, which are sports as well. But yeah.
Do you still do any of that stuff? I know I'm sure your time, I mean you're crazy busy with as a college coach, but do you have any time to do any of that still?
I do. I do. I have a 12-year-old son, and so it's very, very important to him, which obviously it's important to me as well. But I think my son would choose a different family if I wasn't able to take him out deer hunting at least a long weekend. I make sure I let Mitch know every year we're gonna take a long weekend. We're gonna go deer hunting down by my cabin where I got to do it as a kid, and then we bass fish a lot, a lot, a lot. And again, yeah, my son would I'd be excommunicated, or I wouldn't be his dad anymore if I didn't take him to do that stuff.
Is he into anything like you were growing up? Has he found anything that he's obsessed about?
Yeah, everything: baseball, golf, football, hunting, fishing. He's very, 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 very competitive. I think he's going to be a little bit more athletic and better than me, but we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers for that one.
How do you go about coaching him, parenting him? I think that'd be kind of valuable for parents who do listen to this. And you've obviously played at a high level, coaching at a high level. And so how you go about doing it, I would think might be a little bit different than you see maybe someone who doesn't have that experience or background and is really hard on them and pushes them and that type of a thing.
Yeah, he's 12, and I really haven't coached him at all. And by uh, there's purpose behind that. When he very first started, like I just with baseball specifically, with baseball, the machine pitch and all that stuff. I think I got roped into coaching a couple of those teams, but that was just keeping them in order and having fun with them. Now that he's getting a little bit older and a little bit more aware, he's really like wanting it now, and so really just within like the last couple months, because he wants to. I never say, "Hey, are you gonna go to the cages today? You gonna go do this today?" Whatever. Like he's asking me to do it, and if he asks me to do it, then I'm gonna sure as heck make myself available to do it with him. And then now because he has a little bit more body awareness and he's getting strong, we can start to work on some things. But other than that, we're so blessed. My house here in Corvallis it's under a mile. Let's say it's whatever, 3/4 of a mile from campus. He can get out of school at 2:20, 2:30, grab a snack at home, jump on his electric scooter. He's got his baseball bag here, and then he scoots straight into this our center field facility. um, and just jumps in with the guys. And to me, that's the most valuable thing, is for him to watch the guys hit, to watch how they work, and just emulate and be around it, talk baseball with them. I think that's where the biggest jumps are made. And I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity for him to grow up in it like that. So haven't coached him a lot. And now he's just starting to want to really like kind of be pushed a little bit with it, which I really enjoy. So yeah.
Sounds like a kid's dream.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I
Right.
appreciate you coming on, man. This has been a ton of fun. Really liked. I mean, I took a ton of notes during this episode. I loved a lot of the stuff you said, even on the hitting side, recruiting side, all of it. I know you guys are coming to Arizona, so I think I'm going to be at the game on Saturday. So hopefully I'll be able to say hi. But again, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a ton of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. We're third base dugout. Come say what's up.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.